All right, I'm back. This time we're going to talk about breakdancing. What we got here is the Red Bull one, which I guess it's billed as the world's largest breakdancing competition. You know, I check it out sometimes. You can check it out on YouTube, the actual dancers and stuff. But I wanted to look at the website and just look at some of the winners and what's going on with it. Because as you can see here, you know, it's a global competition. There's a lot of different people from different countries in it. Right. But you're noticing something, right? Oh, wait, is that a black guy? Oh, looks like a black guy won in Japan. From Brazil, he's Brazilian. Okay. That guy, France, he looks like, I don't know, he's like mixed race or something. Mm, maybe that guy? I don't know. But you see what I'm saying, though, right? Oh, here we go. Omar. I don't know. I mean, he's like, he could be like Afro-Caribbean too. Who knows? But he looks black to me, though. So we got we got a couple guys, but you can see there's like a global competition that's going on. People are winning money and stuff. I'm not saying that's the only thing or the only way, but I don't see why things like this are considered like corny nowadays in like the black community, right? Where it's like an actual like athletic thing to do. Where it's actually kind of hard to break dance. You gotta have a lot of upper body strength and stuff to do it for the most part. I mean, you look at all these guys in here and women. They all look fit, very fit and ready to be healthy, but they're also not fighting people. And I know it sounds corny. It sounds corny as fuck, right? But it's like a real, like easy solution. It doesn't cost anybody any money. Just you see what I'm saying? Like this guy, you wouldn't say, oh, this guy's a weakling or something like that. This guy, who is he? Lil Zoo. Okay, see, you know what I'm saying? Like I'm not. It's not crazy, right? I mean, supposedly we invented this, right? Supposedly black people invented this dance form, this art form, or whatever. I mean, who? Let's see who owns Red Bull. Let's see who owns Red Bull. Who? Who? What? Red Bull is an Austrian company. So Red Bull was invented by. Oh, he's from Thailand. Okay. A member of the Senate of Thailand. Okay. And then this guy, Dietrich Markwart Ebenhart Matschitz. Okay. He also works for Unilever. All right. So they're the ones that are getting the money from this, right? Who knows how much these people get paid for winning? Let's find out. Red Bull 1. Breakdance. So it usually includes cash and world champion title. Okay. Let's see what type of breakdancing contest they have in New York. Oh man, that Olympic stuff, that was really bad. That was really bad. Oh no, I don't want to do that. Okay. So basically, in order to get into the Olympics, looks like you have to be in the Red Bull 1. There's one in Chelsea venue. All right. Let's see. What about LA? When did this go? That's 2002, though. So, and basically, it looks like you gotta get into the Red Bull 1. There's some black guys. All right. So we can see that people are making money off of breakdancing. Like some German guy and some Thai guy. They're holding competitions in New York that you can possibly get into the Olympics for. So I'm saying, hip hop culture itself is not bad. And all the people that are saying, oh, we got to get the gang stuff. Yeah. But this stuff, it's like, okay, this is actually very positive, right? This is something that's positive. I don't see how it's negative. Someone can tell me how it's negative. Being, pretty physically fit and athletic, right? Winning some money, possibly, or just something to do that's not being in a gang, right? And it's a competitive, masculine sport that requires some athleticism and some intelligence, some rhythm and coordination, And I'm not saying everybody should be a freaking break dancer, but what I'm saying is that I definitely think that the corporate type of hip hop or whatever they did to hip hop is why people don't want it. It's kind of like what they were talking about in Tragedy and Hope, where they were saying, there's the tangible exports and the non-tangible exports, the non-material exports, and this, art, hip hop, or other forms of like art are a non-material form of export that black people could do from their community to get more money into the community, right? And the fact that these people are doing it or holding it, it's, it's kind of like I can see where people are coming from, where it's like, it sucks. Well, how are they able to hold this? But, if a couple black guys try to hold one, then it wouldn't be as big, it wouldn't be as prestigious, right? They wouldn't have all these fancy signs and flat screen TVs and be in this huge place in downtown Manhattan, right? So it's understandable. I can see. But at the same time, you know, it's like he's saying here, right? I would say get rid of the gangster culture, and that will actually help a lot because we can see that hip hop itself is a positive. It's getting people money. People are getting money. They're getting like acclaim and whatever from it. So it's not a negative thing, right? I don't think anyone can say that this guy's doing something wrong, right? He's just doing a backflip or whatever. You see what I'm saying? Then there's no criticism, right? Then there's no criticism of the music because it's all positive. We're teaching people how to do math, you know. We're telling people about the experience that people experience, but it's not making them feel uncomfortable that they want to let their kids listen to it because now their kids are going to want to be in a gang or something like that, right? Like, it's a fair criticism. I think that it's a fair criticism. Like, I think that getting rid of, like, where he says getting rid of all hip hop culture, no. Hip hop culture itself is not bad. It's just the corporate pushed gangster stuff where it's like trying to accentuate a small percentage of the black population as the total percentage of the black population when it's just not true, right? It's basically they're basically doing something to both sides, right? Because on one hand, they're making, the larger society believe that a larger percentage of black people act like that than actually do. And on the other hand, they're influencing young black guys to act like that, right? Because they see that these guys are getting money, and that's how young guys respond to seeing what are supposed to be respectable older men, right? They see, well, this guy's getting money in the society is a good, so therefore they're good. And then what do they do to get the money? Well, then they tell you on the album that the reason why they're authorized to rap and be famous is because they either killed a lot of people or sold drugs or both, or they're just super tough and they don't mind, like doing those types of things if necessary, right? So we can see that hip hop culture itself is not the problem. It's not the hip hop. It's not the guy doing a backflip. It's not the guy playing a record. It's not the guy painting a mural in in an authorized place. you know, it's not any of those things. It's just the gangster part. It's kind of like the globo homo type of thing, right? Where people like the hip hop culture before. That's why everyone was into it. But they just didn't like the gangster aspect of it, right? And the gangster aspect of it isn't really an aspect that black people themselves put into it, right? Right. Right. Look at NWA, right? They were the original gangster rap. Right? They won tons of awards, made tons of money. Dr. Dre's headphones sell for high prices, right? Death Row Records was a division of Hasbro, and then it was sold to the Blackstone Group. Right. There's the Jerry Heller thing, right? So this guy, Jerry Heller, was the guy that discovered, Dr. Dre, Eazy-E, NWA, right? So he was the first person to basically sponsor a gangster rap type of group, right? This guy, right? And then he had tons of problems. He managed CIA. What is CIA? Oh, Crew in Action. So, right. This guy here, he worked with Marvin Gaye, Tina Turner, Van Morrison, Creedence Clearwater, right? Otis Redding, The Who, REO Speedwagon. Then he signed NWA, Death Row, created Death Row Records, Dr. Dre, right? And that's basically where the gangster rap stuff came from. So it's not even a New York thing, right? It's a West Coast thing. But who invented hip hop, right? So goes deeper into who invented hip hop, right? So you're just gonna say all black people invented hip hop? Did Africans invent hip hop too, or is it specifically New York people? It's specifically a New York thing, where it's giving New Yorkers like a specific authority or something like that over what is the original form of hip hop, right? Because the whole like East Coast, West Coast beef, right, was basically started by this guy, right, as an advertisement ploy, which ended in the death of two black men, right, in reality, right? Unless you still believe Tupac's alive or whatever. I don't know. But you see what I'm saying here, right? It's like, it's not exactly like, oh, this guy did it on purpose, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But this is the cause, right? This guy, this is the series of events, right? This guy signs Dr. Dre and creates Death Row Records, which is all about gangster rap, right? And then they cause a East Coast, West Coast beef. Let's see if they actually have a Wikipedia on that. 90s East Coast, West Coast, rap beef. I'll just look at this real quick. I really don't like looking at it, but it's quick. See, East Coast, West Coast rap beef was a rivalry in the 90s primarily between artists from New York and Los Angeles, notably involving Tupac Shakur and the Notorious B.I.G. This conflict was fueled by competition between their respective record labels, Bad Boy Records and Death Row Records, and ultimately led to the tragic deaths of both artists, right? You guys remember that. I guess some people aren't even born when that happened now. That's crazy. Right? That was like this really happened, culminating in two black men dying as a way to promote record sales of some of the most mentally destructive music ever to enter American society. I'm sorry. Right. The East Coast stuff was pretty good. And then but it was controlled by a certain group of people, and then that guy came in, Jerry Heller, to get his like basically hooks into some type of hip hop money. And then he started a beef solely for the purpose of selling records, which ended up in people getting killed, right? And then, both of these other guys now are in jail. Suge Knight, he's in jail, or he was in jail. Puffy, he's in jail, right? Or he was in jail, or he's like in serious trouble, right? And these two guys are dead from basically writing diss tracks. And that's what started it, right? And now we're into the drill rap era, right? Where that's happening all the time. And so to say that it's part of black culture, it's not. It's not part of black culture. Being a gangster rapper or whatever is not part of black culture. That only entered into the concept of hip hop after this like corporatization of hip hop, right? Let's see because like, right, you think Bad Boy Records, right? And you think, oh, well, Puffy, he owned his own record company. No, in reality, Puffy is literally the guy that he plays and Get Him to the Greek. That's the real Puffy. And then the guy that he pretends to be when he does like interviews and stuff, that's an act. And the real Puffy is the guy in Get Him to the Greek, where he's like, oh man, did you take the Jeffrey? He's like, oh, rub this wall, man. And he's like, you think I really listen to this crappy music? He's like, I'm just here for sales, man. Like that's the real Puffy. And then the guy that comes out and on stage and accepts the awards, and he's like, oh, I'm here for the people and rah rah rah. No, bro, right? See, Universal, right? So he doesn't actually own it. It's what I talk about in like a long time ago, where it's just called indirect rule, right? You think I'm making this type of stuff up? What is indirect rule? Right? Indirect rule was a system of governance used by imperial powers to control parts of their empires. This was particularly used by colonial empires like the British to control their possessions in Africa and Asia, which was done through pre-existing indigenous power structures. That's what you have to keep in mind, right? It was done through pre-existing indigenous power structures, right? So as you can see, that Bad Boy Records, right? Distributor Interscope, right? Interscope Records is the same, right? Record company. Oh, I got that from DJ Qbert. Take 5. I gotta listen to that still. Interscope Records and Death Row Records, right? See? Interscope. They're literally both distributed by the same record company, right? Distributor, Interscope. You see what I'm saying? When I'm saying they're playing both sides, right? Interscope. You see that, right? Distributor, Interscope. Death Row Records, distributor, Interscope. The same people own Death Row Records and Bad Boy Records, and they started a fake beef which culminated in the death of two of the most loved black people at the time when they were killed. Right? Indirect rule. Indirect rule was a system of governance used by imperial powers to control parts of their empires. This was particularly used by colonial empires like the British Empire to control their possessions in Africa and Asia, which was done through pre-existing indigenous power structures. Indirect rule was used by various colonial rulers such as the French in Algeria and Tunisia, the Dutch in the East Indies, the Portuguese in Angola and Mozambique, and the Belgians in Rwanda and Burundi. These dependencies were often called protectorates or trucial states. Through the systems, the day-to-day government and administration of both small and large areas were left in the hands of traditional rulers like the Boule, who gained prestige and the stability and protection afforded by the Pax Britannica, which is the British peace. Consequently, done at the cost of losing control of their external affairs and often taxation, communications, and other matters. It was carried out with a small number of European advisors, a small amount of European advisors, Interscope, right? Effectively overseeing the government of large numbers of people spread over extensive areas, right? That's what indirect rule is, right? Indirect rule is Puffy, and indirect rule is Dr. Dre. Both distributed, because the distributors really run the show, right? The record labels decide who to record, right? But if you can't get distribution, you're screwed. You can record 50,000 albums. You can record 100,000 albums. You can record one song that lasts 40 days. But if you don't have distribution, you're cooked, right? And the same distributor, right? Let's look at some other rap beefs, right? Who was it? 50 Cent and Ja Rule, right? So we got 50 Cent. Organization, G unit, right? Wait, hold on. Look, Interscope, right? They're the only ones that do it, right? And then Ja Rule. Okay, he's not Universal. Inc. is Universal. Okay, so that one's not the same, even though Universal descript. Okay, so that one's. Wait a minute. Universal, it oversaw sales and marketing and distribution for UMG labels such as Interscope. You see how they just try to like trick you? Because it's all the same one. It's all the same thing, right? Right. It's all the same. And then you go to Vivendi, right? It's that stupid, right? Okay. Like I've done this before. Vivendi. Okay, Vivendi SE, stylized in all lowercase, is a French investment company headquartered in Paris. It wholly owns Gameloft and Investments. Vivendi Universal was created from the merger group Canal and Seagram's company. Let's not get into Seagram's, owner of Universal Studios. Vivendi sold 80% of Universal to General Electric, but only in 2004, forming what is NBC Universal, right? It sold most of Universal's components, and the name reverted to Vivendi. GE bought out Vivendi's 20% stake, right? So what do they own now? Founder Napoleon III, headquartered in France. You can't make this stuff up. You can't even make it up. Right? Look at all the companies they own. Vivendi Universal. They own Seagram's, owner of Universal Studios, Houghton Macmillan, right? But nobody's even ever, have you ever heard of Vivendi before? Oh, Vivendi, but I knew all about it. I'm like, type this in. Bruh. You see what I'm saying? Look, they're working with Al Gore. You can read all this if you want to. They run everything. They run GE. They run Universal, the News International, right? Blizzard, right? Comcast, right? Daily Motion, Gameloft, Ubisoft, Shoutcast, right? See, they just sold partially Universal Music Group in 2020. So, because I had looked it up before. See what I'm saying? Like, and then you could just say, oh, well, it doesn't mean anything. Well, it's like if they own everything, right? They own like 40% of everything, 50% of everything. And it's like, okay, well, no wonder you can't get anywhere, right? But it's like, if you don't know that, right? And you don't know, and then you're like, oh, well, I'm going to get my Ja Rule record because Ja Rule is not the same as 50 Cent, right? I don't like 50. I like Ja Rule, right? I'll buy Ja. It's Coke or Pepsi. No matter what you get, you're getting cola, right? You're getting cola. They're giving you two fake options, G Unit, right? And it's like, I'm not saying the music's bad. The music's not bad. It's not the music. It's the fact that these are your options. Your options are get the thing that's owned by them or get the thing that's owned by them, right? And like, you see what I'm saying? And then if someone comes out with an underground album, right, people will go, oh, but he's so underground and his production's bad. And well, it's because they don't have $10 billion like investment to get, 100 hours in the studio with Tony Black or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Tony Black. He's a great producer, right? They don't have fucking, the money. And then if someone comes out with it's the same thing with like movies or anything. Like my brother did that once. Like him and his friends like made this like kind of like movie, like this backyard style movie. And I was like, look, bro, keep it real. Like if this movie didn't have you in it, would you watch it? And he was like, nah, yeah, because it's all low budget, right? And that's what it is, right? It's like everybody wants everything to be at the highest quality, but the only way you can get that is through this like centralized monopoly capital thing, right? So if you don't like so this is what I'm kind of saying about the breakdancing. If you won't bring the breakdancing actually back to the street, actually back to something where it's a real thing, where people are really engaged in that instead of like killing each other, right? It's going to stay controlled by these people. It's going to stay controlled by them. And then you're going to spend all your money with them because you want to identify with the rich black guy that made it, right? You want to identify with the one black guy that made it, but really he was just selected by Universal Studios as an indirect form of rule over your community. Right? And I'm not saying he can't rap. I'm not saying that his songs aren't good. But it's that's not what it's about. It's about the fact that you don't have a choice between Coke or Pepsi. You're just getting cola, right? And then the cola comes with this. Right? The pre-existing, the control through pre-existing indigenous power structures. See what I'm saying? And that's what the whole West Coast, East Coast beef was. 50 Cent, Ja Rule, whoever else, right? Who else was it, right? Oh, Drake. And that's one of the more recent ones. Drake and Kendrick Lamar. All right. Enter scope. Right. Let's see. Where's Drake? Okay. OVO. Warner. Okay. Warner Music Group. Oh, third largest after Universal. Okay. It's not Universal. So that might be an actual separate thing, except the Geffen catalog now owned by Universal. You see what I'm saying? Like it's just one big corporation. There's not like a bunch of corporations. It's just basically whenever they get too big and they get too close to being a monopoly, then they just sell part of it so that it's not a monopoly to like another fake corporation, and then they just buy all the stocks in it, right? So while it's not directly the same, it is the same. So yeah, you can see it's just basically you're identifying with the rich guy, and then because you want to be rich, right? And then now, Drake's not identifiable anymore because he's too mixed race, right? And also the like whole like anti-Jewish sentiment that's going around now, right? It's part of it. It is part of it. If you listen to Kendrick Lamar's album, it's definitely part of it. He definitely does talk about him being Jewish in the album and mixed race in the album and how that's bad for black people, right? So there's that, right? But this isn't helping, the average black person. Like, you see what I'm saying? And because it has to be this huge production and this huge thing, if it has to be that in order for you to respect the person, then you're kind of playing into the, you're playing into the hands of the corporations. Because think about it. Why do you want to give these guys this much power? Why do you want to give them the power to decide who your leader is going to be, right? Because that's who decides. They decide, not you. Because think about it. You never heard about Drake until after he got signed, right? You never heard about Kendrick Lamar until he got signed, right? You can pretend maybe if you lived in his neighborhood or whatever, you heard about him, but beyond that, you didn't hear about him. Nobody heard about Drake until he got signed. Nobody heard about. I'm from like New York. I never heard of 50 Cent before he got signed. No one was like, "Oh, you heard about the 50 Cent? He's rapping on the streets." Come on, no one ever heard of him, right? And then they get selected, put up there for the indirect rule thing, right? And that's what it is. It's indirect rule, right? Let's see if we can find that P. Diddy thing. See, the pep talk consists of Puffy's character repeatedly suggesting that Aaron mind fuck the rock star, meaning manipulate him into getting to the venue. Right? So he's saying that they should manipulate the rap stars to get him to do stuff for the rock stars. So you can see this stuff's not like made up stuff, right? And then black people would be able to more easily export the non-material goods, like the art and the culture part, if it's like the no Diddy version of it. Right? People don't want to get mind effed by the music. So I think that kind of pretty much lays out my theory there, that basically the reason why black people really aren't getting that much money, except for a small select 0.01% of black people are getting the money, and the money is not finding its way back into the community because the money is going to Universal, Columbia, Interscope, for them to select the next black person leader for their indirect rule, so that they can convince you that being a gangster and being, I mean, Kendrick's not that bad really, but it's like they're just giving you your leader. They're giving you your leader. And if you can't admit that and you can't see that you're not selecting these people, that they're given to you for indirect rule, then I don't know what to say. So I'm going to end it here. Have a good day and Peace.